the marketplace is definitely evolving and changing.
That's no problem.
We do this.
Don't we?
We have been so guilty of doing this. Life is harder for a dog these days. So if we're not providing the support that people need based on that, like, we're failing people.
Folks tell me no one's going to pay that for training. And now I charge, 3 times that.
So I really don't know.
She really doesn't know anything about gardening.
So it served my purpose. Cooey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dog Business. And we have another guest for you this week. We are joined by the lovely Amber from, I hope I'm going to get this right, is it Summit Dog Training?
That is right. Yes. Good memory.
Check me out. You are joining us all the way from
Fort Collins, Colorado, USA.
Love it. Love it. We caught up. I can't even remember how long ago it was.
A while back, wasn't it?
A couple months now. But we enjoyed our conversation that much that we were like, we need to get you on the podcast because we think you're pretty awesome. So,
well, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Tell everybody a little bit about you then so they know more about you.
Yeah, so I have been in this industry, the dog training industry, for a long time. I like to kind of fudge how long I've been in here because it's a little bit too long, I feel like sometimes. But I started training dogs when I was 10 and then started teaching training classes when I was 13. So I've been in the industry for over 20 years now. And currently, my business, Summit Dog Training, has been in Fort Collins for going on 11 years. And we're a team of 11, soon to be 12 folks, some full-time, some part-time. And we do quite a bit of different service programs for our community, from private lessons, group classes, and our kind of enrichment training drop-off service where clients bring us their lovely pups for the morning, and we get to pamper them and give them all sorts of like dog-focused enrichment and socialization opportunities, as well as a little bit of training in a really like small group boutique setting. So, and then, a wide variety of other things, from online resources for clients around the world, and free community events, and just whatever else we can think of on any given week.
Wow. So I think we'll go back to how you started growing your business.
It's like kind of just there. Like there is a lot.
Packed it all in.
Yes.
But yeah, you're obviously now a team of like about to be 12, I think you said. Mm-hmm. So is it you managing that entire team? How does it, like, what do your days look like now? And then we'll go back and find out how you started to grow that.
Sure. So my days now, I've a couple years ago worked on giving myself a promotion in title to CEO. And I do have a wonderful operations manager and an office manager who take a lot of the management pieces off my plate now. I'm in a healthy, normal week in charge of vision and big projects and curriculum development and program design and some of the like financial back end management. I do still see my own clients, although it's quite a bit more limited than it used to be, just out of preserving some amount of hours in the week to not do dog stuff. But so in a healthy, like balanced week, that's what my role looks like. And certainly some weeks fit in that mold. And then some weeks I have more necessity to step back into operations for different reasons. We've had a couple ups and downs with staff members needing extended leave or having, wanting to go on really cool, adventurous trips that we want to make happen. And so I do still find myself being the one that plugs a lot of the gaps in that, although we're actively like working on making sure that I'm less and less needed in those capacities.
And was that vision, is where you are now what you'd envisioned it to be?
That's a good question. 10 years ago when I first started, or almost 11 years ago when I first started Summit Dog Training, I don't know that I thought this far ahead. I think I was starting it because my partner was in grad school in the town, and I needed, we had just moved to the town and Fort Collins, and I needed, to use my skills and make us some money to kind of balance our household income. And then it just kind of kept growing, and people, wonderful people came alongside and were early additions to the team. And then we picked up a facility at some point. And so then we had more space and more time and more clients asking us for service. And so it's kind of, I think about 5 years ago is when I had to decide if I was in this for the next stage of growth, or if I was going to sell it or close it down. And I actually went through the whole process of considering selling my business. I, worked with a resources business brokers to do that. And then through that process, kind of realized that I wasn't ready to sell it yet, was able to kind of reestablish some healthier relationships with the business. And then at that point had to kind of decide like, okay, like if we're going to continue to grow and develop in this space here, this is kind of what it needs to look like. We need to, be adding these staff members or these pieces. And so I think about 5 years ago was maybe when I first kind of understood closer to the vision that we have today, rather than 10 or 11 years ago when we first started.
And do you mind sharing what was it 5 years ago that made you reassess everything?
I was so burnt out. It was right after, I started Summit in 2015, and then in 2020, obviously, we had a big global pandemic crisis that changed how we did everything. And during that time, I forget exactly how many team members I had right at that moment in time, but I spent those months of the pandemic shutdowns and then reopening, but with restrictions and stuff, like really working to figure out how to save and pivot my business. I built a virtual classroom in 4 weeks and managed it. And then on the other side of that, we had the like pandemic puppy boom where everyone had puppies. And so we, our business grew so quickly on the other side of the pandemic. So the pandemic was both like a huge stressor in the business development, and then on the other side of it, a big like tailwind that required a lot of like pretty accelerated growth. And at that time, I was like still a big, still a huge service provider. Like I was teaching client facing hours of like 20 hours or more a week, and trying to manage a team and a business that was growing. And so I was working like 60 hours a week, the classic morphing of boundaries between personal and professional life that the pandemic just kind of enabled in a lot of us. And then it just never stopped. And so 2021 hit, and I was like, didn't really see a way out of feeling that way. And so as part of that, like I had an employee who was, potentially interested in purchasing the business. And so we started discussing, what that would look like. And I started working with 2 different resources. One, the practical side, business broker, how do you sell a business, that sort of thing. But then the really like impactful side that I credit with like kind of changing where I was I worked with a coach, and initially I hired her to help me kind of separate my personal identity from my business identity because they were so intertwined. And so we spent 6 months like working on that. And then while we were kind of in parallel thinking this was like heading towards an exit from the business. And then, 6 months in, things had kind of changed were changing on the business sales side. And it was looking like maybe this wasn't going to be a good fit for my employee to purchase the business and in alignment with her goals. And I had also kind of worked back to a little bit of a healthier place with my business. And so then I did another 6 months with this coach working on like, what does being, a CEO of this business look like instead of just of everything of this business? And how do we maintain like healthy work-life balance, although that term is I have mixed feelings about that term, but how do we maintain a healthy like relationship with our business if we're going to keep going? And so like there was like a year of coaching, like really focusing on the emotional side of being a business owner, being a female entrepreneur, being a someone who was like working in a field that was also a hobby, also a passion, also a long time, outlet. And what does that look like to do that in a healthy way? And so then on the other side of 6 months was when I kind of committed to say, okay, if I'm going to stay in this business, I need to do this differently or better. And then we spent another 6 months kind of working on what that is. So that was, 2021 into 2022, and really kind of was a pivotal point in deciding like how to re-engage with it in a better way.
I think the term having a healthy relationship with the business is so much better than that work-life balance.
Yeah, there's no
yes.
such thing as work-life
there
balance.
isn't.
We refer to it as a dance.
Yes.
Like
yes.
we're in, we're out.
Yeah.
A bit like the hokey cokey.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit like the hokey
Yes.
A bit like the
isn't
hokey
it?
cokey,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it leaves room for like a healthy relationship with the business to be different for different seasons.
Yeah.
Because I think when I get caught up in the like work-life balance label, it's like it has to be equal, or it has to be like, feel in balance. And right now I'm really trying to, and I think I've also gotten a little bit of burnout because of that pressure too. Sometimes like if it's not in balance, then I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not, achieving the success that I, as that version of success. But now I'm referencing now because I'm also, 5 years post that, like navigating the next wave of, what does a healthy relationship with my business look like? And I think, just like currently a healthy relationship for me looks like, acknowledging at times when I have to invest more, and then, but recognizing that that's a season and not just like letting it become the new normal. And then hopefully dialing up, the outside of work things when I can to, keep things, yes, in balance, but maybe not on every day, but in, aggregate. And that's at least for me, what's been more feasible.
Yeah, and you gave a perfect example there about having staff that were off and you're having to delve back in, but it's not forever, it's temporary, and it's going to work back towards having that better relationship with the business again, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the dream.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. For context, do you mind sharing kind of like the growth of the business, so like kind of where it started? Because one thing that we are desperate to change, like we've spoken about this before with you, I'm certain, of there's this stigma, I think, attached to the industry that it's dirty to earn money being a dog trainer. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of like the growth of your business as to where you've got now, because to me, hearing that you've invested in coaching and even just the way you're describing it, like the terminology and the growth and the exit plan and all of that, to me, all my little like excitement barometer thingy goes crazy. I'm like, oh my God, love all this.
Yes. So when I started, it was just me, and I was, from the start kind of making waves with some of the business models that I put out there, because in my community, and the industry has changed so much in even 11 years, even in my little town. But 11 years ago, when I, tried to charge a very small amount for a private lesson package, I had folks tell me no one's going to pay that for training. And I was like, well, obviously people are paying that. And now I charge, 3 times that for the training package that, I created that at that time, and people pay it. And certainly there's been an evolution, and certainly we've had to evolve and change services. But I think that early experience where, I was charging a very modest amount at that time for my services, and got feedback from folks that were kind of still operating under like previous business models of like, it's just something that people do on the side. It's not a career. It's just, so why would someone pay that? That early experience just kind of has stuck with me as like, okay, like, you have to make it work for you at every stage. Like and then you'll find the clients that will work with you at that level. So that was early experience. And then we've, grown the business to, and each milestone has been kind of like moving up in size of facility, moving up in number of staff. So we have actually been able to like leverage the business and the cash flow of the business to purchase our spaces. So we've purchased our commercial real estate that then we use and operate as the business. And I think that's for me, that's like a huge, like part of our financial picture, and something that the business has enabled us to do, and charging, appropriately so that we had cash in the bank to make those purchases was like a really key piece. So we had 3 little commercial units that we ran, that we purchased with Summit Dog Training as a not a co-mortgagee, but I like, use the revenue of Summit to kind of show the bank, like we can purchase these facilities. And then now those are rented to other tenants, and we have a bigger facility that we purchased in the same way. And now that's where Summit's home base is. And so now our monthly rent that we'd be paying for facilities is going towards a mortgage that will be long-term part of our like financial picture. And that's a game changer for how like I'm viewing like the success of Summit, is that we're having that like kind of longevity of investment because of the business finances. So I don't know if that was fully answered your question. If you want, I can go deeper or go back to any of those points. But like for me, those being able to like have the cash flow and set up the business so that we had excess money to accumulate a down payment and show the bank that we were like bringing in profit versus just breaking even, so that we could be considered for those mortgages, was like, it is kind of a benchmark of like the business financial success piece.
Yeah, and it's so lovely to hear, because I think a lot of us, when we are starting out as these solo business owners, and we speak to so many people, that we struggle to wrap our head around thinking it's possible to even make a 50k salary a year, let alone be able to buy units and, I was going to say buy staff. That doesn't sound quite right, but
acquire staff,
and employ, and be able to pay them, like a really good wage and everything. And to me, this is where me and Vicky are like so passionate about trying to bring the money conversation more out to this audience that are going to be listening to this podcast, to show that you can earn money in this industry, and it doesn't have to be dirty. You can do it with the best of intentions. You can do it with integrity. You can do it to grow your team and have staff that also love working with the dogs. You can do it to spread your message of, let's get some really good education out to the public. But in order to do so, your business has to survive. It has to exist. And in order to do that, you've got to bring the cash in.
Yeah. Yeah. And as the like business owner, like especially a manager of a team, that's a piece of like my responsibility to make sure that we're like setting pricing at a spot where we can do that. We're in the middle of a small like cost of living price increase right now. And that, honestly, like a big amount of pushback that I got for that was from my team, in like, well, what about the clients that won't be able to afford this? Or what about the what about these clients that have been coming for a while and, we don't want to raise prices on them. And I'm like, y'all, I want to give you raises. I want to be able to pay you more. And, the cost of everything is going up around the world, as we know, and it only gets more chaotic by the day, it seems. And this is just something we have to do. And we have to accept that our clients who value our work will pay it, and those that can't won't, and that's okay. And that's just, how we have to go about it. But it is an important piece.
Something you said earlier. So you talked about having you got to the point where you had a CEO mindset, and the way you viewed the business was that CEO kind of mindset. Yeah. 2 questions around it. How did you, and I know you said you had a mentor, so it'd be interesting to kind of figure that out. How did you start to have that CEO mindset, and how much of that would you attribute to the success of the business now?
That's a good question. I think there's maybe a couple factors. One was just looking at all of the things that I was doing and realizing I was spending a lot of my brain space on the things that if I trained someone else, they could be making some of those decisions or executing on some of those things, so that I could have more brain space on other things. And some of it was necessity, just realizing okay, I either need to walk away from this entirely, or I need to change in a dramatic way how things are going. And then 2, it was identifying what things do I enjoy? What things do I like working on? And what things make it feel sustainable for me to keep going in this? And realizing that I do, when I have the time and the energy for it, I do like the building programs and building a network. I came in to the town I live in, moved here without knowing really anyone, and built a network and a referral network fairly quickly enough to start my business, and then kept snowballing it. I enjoy that process when I have the time to do it, and have the ability to spend time on doing it well, versus just feeling like it's falling through the cracks. So kind of looking at all the different things I was doing and be like, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, I need to be working on the things that I'm really good at and the things that I enjoy doing. And that is going to mean setting some things down and passing some things off, or letting some things go. And I'm actually I had that conversation and realization with myself 5 years ago. And then last week, one of my colleagues who also runs a training business in a different state, and we meet, every so often to kind of just be each other's, peers and support system. And she was like, you're doing too much. You need to write down what are the things that you enjoy doing, so you can. And I'm like, oh, right, I've done this before. I need to do it again. I think so. Again, it's that constant evolving relationship that is important with what you're doing. It's so easy, especially for us as founders of businesses, to just feel like we have to keep taking things on and keep adding it to our plate. And it's requires constant work and reevaluation of okay, is this the best use of my time to be doing this? Or would I be helping the business more if I was spending time on this thing that then opened up these possibilities for the business? And I think that's for me what the CEO mindset that you referenced kind of means. And that's, I don't know how I arrived at it, but I don't want it to sound like I'm, operating as a CEO every second of every day, because I easily get sucked back into the things that are in a different category as well.
Yeah, no, that answers that brilliantly. And I think for us, something that's really helped is like separating out, like you say, is this a good use of my time? But kind of separating all the tasks into like £10 tasks, £100 tasks, £1,000 tasks. So like for you, kind of what you alluded to was like your connection and you're building something bigger is like, that's where the £1,000 tasks are. And that's where your focus should be. And the £10 tasks, like those are the things you can outsource. They're as important, but they're not an important role for you, because that's not going to move the business forward.
Yeah.
I want to say,
even though I can quickly say I can take on 10-pound tasks. No problem.
We do
it,
this.
don't we?
We have been so guilty of doing this. Yeah,
it is. It's so easy.
Just tweak the website because I can do it, and it will take like. And you've said to me, no, let the guy who sorts that out do that. And I'm like, okay. But it's a really hard thing to stop yourself from doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had to like really like smack her
Reined me
and
in.
be like, stop it. This is why we have Peter. He can go and do all of this stuff. And she's like, but by the time, basically it comes down to, I can't be bothered to brief somebody else when I could just do it myself. So actually it comes from a lazy perspective rather than anything else.
Lazy, but I'm willing to do the work there and then. So it's not lazy really, is it? It's kind of just, But I understand it, and I know that really in the long run, that's the best thing, because once he's been shown once, he can just do it again and again if it's needed. You know?
Right.
So,
no, it is hard to let go. And I think it is, I geek out so much on like this business journey and this lifestyle that we all go through, because it fascinates me and it amazes me, but it doesn't, because I know the journey we all go on, because we're going through it, we've been through it, and you evolve so much, don't you, as a business owner? You go in from being that scrappy little dog trainer initially that's like, yay, I just love dogs and this is amazing and I love consuming all the knowledge, and now I want to go and help other people. And then you start by just taking on a handful of clients, and then before you know it, you're like, oh shit, I'm now like this accidental business owner here that I don't really know what I'm doing. And then I think for a lot of us, that's when that burnout can come in, because we're not operating by a plan. And I think a plan scares a lot of us as well, because we're thinking, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to diversify into puppies from reactivity or whatever it is, or I don't know if I want to run a team. I don't know if I want to push past a certain earning threshold so I don't have to pay more tax, or I don't even want to, like, that's not me. That's not how I identify. Yeah,
it's like facing up to the big decisions that they're probably trying to avoid in the most part. Because I think I did for many years.
Yeah. It's and again, I think we're surrounded by it. It's almost like, I think you mentioned at the start of this podcast, like we are almost encouraged to believe that it's a hobby. It's not a business.
Yeah. Because I mean, for many years it was like, for at least in my early exposure, you know, kind of growing up in the industry, like I knew several dog trainers who, you know, when I was early on, like I only knew of those, I knew one who it was her full-time job. And then the other ones were like, yeah, I have a full-time job, or I work at a vet and I do this on the side, or I, you know, am a groomer and I do this on the side, and nothing wrong with that if that's, but it wasn't, at least in my corner of the world, like something that for many years people did full-time until much more recently.
And you can see where the perception comes in, that it's an industry not to maybe take as seriously as it should be, because so many people are doing it on the side. And again, nothing wrong with that. I started with it on the side and went all in, and it's a common path, isn't it, that people take. But you almost look at that public perception of it and go like, no wonder they might think that we shouldn't be charging more and we shouldn't be, you know, looking at ourselves as a proper business owner, when like we are just doing it on the side for the most part, or hobbyist, you know.
Yeah.
It's, we always think so much of this industry is, we're almost just like not questioning it enough, are we, in lots of ways, and we just do what everyone else does, and it's an easy thing to do, and we're comparing ourselves, and we look at the problems that we have created and we're just adding to those problems. And as hard as that is to hear, I think for some people it's true. I think we believe it's true, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like it's so easy to get, you know, I'm a perpetrator of it as well. Like, it's so easy to just be like, oh, right, this is how we did it, 10 years ago, this is how we still do it today, and not, think more holistically about like, well, how could it work other than that?
Yeah. Yeah, because we always say this, the knowledge bit has moved on so much, the science behind everything's moved on, but the models, they're just stuck. Like, they're stuck in the 90s. I've said this so much, but they are, aren't they? It's like we're doing things as they used to be when less people had dogs, and dogs weren't probably so much of a problem there because of the life that we have these days and what we're trying to get our dogs to live amongst and all that kind of stuff. Life is harder for a dog these days. So if we're not providing the support that people need based on that, like, we're failing people,
Yeah.
And it's sad, really, because we can make that change. Like, we're always trying to encourage people to think differently, and you say, like, just ignore what everyone else does, but it's a really hard thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
What has helped you? Actually, I was just going to say, what has helped you? Because it sounds like you're doing great things, and you're doing, maybe different things that other people do in your area. What has helped you be able to stay on that path then?
I think it's like on the path with one foot and maybe off the path with another foot. I think we do some things like similar, and I'm, currently in this feeling of like feeling like changing a lot of things. So I'm in this like kind of unique headspace right now where I think we're going to be changing things up here over the next few months, in probably our biggest kind of programming change in since we added our adventure camp like enrichment service. And so that's something that's still kind of formulating, but I think I think like wanting to play to our strengths as a team has always been kind of a driving factor. Like, when I look at the different services that we've like tried out or developed, a lot of it has come from looking at what I enjoy first. Early days, I was the service provider and the creator. So what did I enjoy doing? And then looking at when I hired people, on the team, like, what did they enjoy doing? I may have hired them to cover certain things that I needed on the team, but also wanting to give folks a place to express their own creativity and ideas and things. And so being open to hearing, from different staff members about like what was interesting and exciting to them. And that's where, some of our different programs have originated, at least in the idea form, in early stages. So I think being open to that, especially if you're a business owner that's going to be adding folks to your team, it can be, and it's a balance, right? Because I think I've also swung too far the other way and been too enabling of just whatever different team members thought was a good idea, and less like specific about, no, this is our vision, this is our goal. And so like, I'm recognizing that there's risks on either side, like risk from like not allowing creativity, like you lose out on a lot of great ideas, and you might miss out on someone who like really wants that element working within a small business. But then if you're just going and chasing after every idea without like a central focus and drive, then you're going to be distracted and chasing your tail after other people's ideas. And I've definitely done that as well. And so kind of recognizing like having a vision and a goal, and then like finding the different ideas and pieces that fit within it, and then trying them out, is I think like how I've more or less operated in the creating different things. And I also like looking at like, what are other industries doing for things. So one of my kind of ideas that I'm working on now that I'm, trying to bring into my business is based on a program design that I experienced at my own like martial arts gym. So my martial arts gym does some of their classes this way. And I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Like how could I take some of those ideas and bring them into my industry? And so it's not like exactly, like completely original, but it may be a different way than I've thought to do it in my sphere.
I love looking externally.
Yeah, we encourage this a lot actually, because you, again, it's that kind of indoctrination sometimes about it has to be structured this way. We have to include that. We don't want to include this. And it's like you can, if you've got that, I don't know, that ability to look at something and take the bits out of it that are going to be relevant to you. You don't have to completely replicate it if you don't want to. You might want to do that, but just stick the dog thing into it. But you might just take elements of it and go like, I really like that bit of it. And you can do that. You can pull it out and you can bring it in. And we really encourage, but I think dog folk find that a really hard skill to practice, you know? Do you find that in general?
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, like, especially when I've been in periods of burnout and feeling overwhelmed, the last thing that I want to do is go and reinvent the wheel and create new things, because I'm just trying to keep my head above water with what I'm doing currently. And so going and rethinking and being like, well, what if I changed all of this so that it would be better and I would be less underwater? You know, that's great. But like the hill to climb to get there can sometimes feel daunting. And so I think, you know, certainly personally, I've been like, oh, well, this is just the way we do it. And it's a less resistance to just keep doing the same thing, even if it's not 100% working in the way that I'd like it to. And so it takes like a really like clearing the space on the schedule, on the brain, to be able to think about it differently. And I think for me, another piece that I'm always fighting, and I bring this up because I've just been giving myself a pep talk about this over the last week, is like the perfectionism piece of, if I'm going to try a new idea, it has to be completely fleshed out. I have to have every piece thought out. I have to have every like detail ironed out. I have to, you know, have a super polished presentation for the clients and stuff. And so then that bar that I set for myself and for the program that I'm coming up with is like up here, and it is too daunting to even start. And so I am trying to currently giving myself lots of pep talks about like, you can throw this out there at the 10% level and then like build as you go. And obviously we still want to care about, or we still want to provide great client care and great client services and things. But like, there are ways to do that without it looking like this right from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that comes up a lot, doesn't it, with our clients?
It's such a hard one. And I'm trying to think I think I've got elements of that in me, but I definitely don't. It's not a massive barrier for me. I would rather stick something out there and the risk of it failing, and I learn more from that failure, and I'll get on with it again, which has its cons as well. Because maybe it's not at the level that I want it to be, but I do the messy action in the opposite way, I think.
Yeah. But also it's like, you don't know if there's a need for it sometimes either, do you, until you've actually talked about it and put it out there and sort of built up a little bit of momentum around it. Like, and for us, definitely, we work on pressure really well. So if we've committed,
it's not a good thing, but it is.
Again, pros and cons. But if you've committed to going like, this, who wants this new thing? This new thing is coming, and people are like, yay, and they start committing to it. You're like, well, I've got to bloody do it now, because I've got people who have said they're in and they've paid for it potentially. So, you know, and that is quite a scary way of doing things sometimes. But actually, I think it's proves the concept, proves people want it, and you just then go, well, okay, it forces me to actually do the bloody thing and get it out there. So yeah. A question that popped into my mind whilst you've been talking over the last little bit was, you've mentioned things like having a vision and a plan, and again, I think a lot of us as dog trainers may think along the lines of, I don't really know what my vision is, I don't know what my plan is. How crucial do you feel for you personally with your business that having that plan and that vision has enabled the growth and the structure and the stability that your business now has?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that for a couple reasons. One, it's something that I can come back to when I'm feeling distracted by shiny objects and things that, over here seem like they would be a good idea. And I'm like, nope, actually, like if I really think about this and in light of like the vision that I set for the company, then maybe this is something I need to set down. So that's important. I think it's especially as you bring team members on board, it's really important to have a unifying vision, because if not, it's going to be a lot harder for everyone to be moving in the same direction cohesively. And it's hard enough with a vision statement and with a something that you can keep coming back to. So I do think it's really important. I do think it's a big factor in our success over the years. And I think also that I've held it somewhat like, not loosely, because that makes it feel like it's like falling through, but like held it as something that is important enough to like amend as we go. Not every month, not every year, but every few years, like taking a look at it and being like, is this still something that I believe in working for? And is this still in alignment with what I think the company is moving towards, and also what am I working towards as an individual, a separate from my company, and is it serving or the individual vision serving the company vision and vice versa? And so I think like there's like ways where I have kind of modified the vision over the years because because of like all the other factors around life. And so I feel like maybe it's a little bit more muddy than just like, 11 years ago, I had a vision that I've just held to and gone without like any sort of modification, because that's, I don't think that's entirely accurate either, but it's kind of just been this like North Star almost, but continuing to like reorient around it as the years have passed.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice. We love North Star kind of thinking and guidance and stuff. And I love that you are willing to change it as well and just reassess it, because I think rigidity, is that the word?
Gosh,
rigidity.
That was very well said.
It came out better than I thought it was going to in my brain, actually. I think it's one of these things that we are, a lot of dog trainers get stuck with. They go, if I create something, I have to love it forever and it can't ever change, and it's what it, and I have to, and this is where the paralysis sometimes comes in, because it's got to be that perfect and you've got to be that sure about it. And there's, it's this fear of being able to just like change anything you want whenever. Now, what I'm not saying is like, think of a vision and then next week think of a completely different one. But what you're saying is like, you can go back and just make sure that you are on the right track. Your heart is with it still. And where the company is going is still in that direction, or does it need tweaking slightly on a slightly different course? And I think that this is something we'd really like to change in the industry as well, is to just go like, you can change anything at any time. If it doesn't feel right, that's okay. Like, it's your business and you are the CEO of that business, and you can make these decisions and you can change the course of where that business goes. And if you're not happy with it, if something feels off, it's okay to reassess it. It's fine. But I think there's definitely a fear around it.
What would you say? What's your belief, or what are you seeing from being on the ground in respect to all the other dog trainers and behaviorists out there, specifically from this business lens? How do you think it's a big question to answer, but how do you think the industry is perceiving the business element of being a dog trainer and behaviorist?
Like from the client perspective, or from the dog trainer?
From the dog trainer's perspective, sorry.
From the dog trainer. I think that it has changed a lot since, I started my Fort Collins business 11 years ago. And I think that there are a lot of trainers investing more in a lot of marketing and a lot of better presentations for the client. And now whether the training can measure up to those promises, I think varies widely in the industry. There's, I think, a plethora of like free and low cost advice you can get from content creators all across the industry now, whereas like before the pandemic, even that was not available. So I think folks are having to, in general, work a little bit harder to like make their programs accessible to clients in a way that they didn't have to do before. Like, I think 11 years ago when I started my business and my company, I like revolutionized the industry because I accepted credit cards on my website. People could like come to my website, book a class and pay with a credit card. And like, that was something that the other trainers in town just weren't offering. It was like, you have to like call them, you have to email them, you have to get on the list, and then you have to show up and pay with a check. And when I, added a scheduling software and a credit card on my credit card payment processor on my website, it like was a, something that clients would come to me and say, I picked you because I could pay online and all of that. And that's, the industry has caught up to that for the most part. And that's not like a differentiating factor anymore, which is a good thing, I think, in general for client care. But I think we're all having to kind of work a little bit harder and be a little bit more mindful of the business aspect of it than the industry was used to before that.
Yeah, the marketplace is definitely evolving and changing. And interestingly, actually, I would still say it's a high proportion percentage the other way here. It's really difficult to pay by card.
Yeah,
everything is still bank transfer.
Yeah, because people don't like the fees around it, and they're not always seeing that you can pass on the fees. Like it's
right.
Oh, but that's going to cost me more. So I think it's that kind of mindset around like, I'm paying out all this stuff anyway, and then I'm going to have to do. But you can just incorporate it in the fees, and it seems to be a real blocker here.
It's a massive blocker, and it's that thought process as well of not even just being able to pass on the fees, but just having a price point that works for your business, so you're incorporating that fee, because in the grand scheme of things these fees are pretty negligible. If you get your business rocking and rolling effectively and with that CEO mindset of like, let's go in with the numbers and really look at this from a profit perspective, then those fees aren't there. But interesting that over here anyway, it's still really difficult to pay.
and I think for me, like, I just view it as like if I wasn't paying that fee and I was collecting payments manually, then that means something else that my staff and I have to do manually, and that costs money. And that also, like, if I don't collect payment up front and clients no show or, don't, like, I had that happen before I accepted credit cards. When I was just early on starting, I thought I had a full class of students that were going to show up at the park on a Saturday morning, because I had talked to 7 people on the phone and 5 of them had told me, yep, we'll be there at the park. And I had 3 people didn't show up. And this was like a 6-week class that I was, running and figuring out. And then I had 3 people who didn't show up. They hadn't paid because they were going to bring a check. And like, then when I followed up with them after, like, oh yeah, something came up, like, we'll do the next one down the road. And so then I, ran a class at half capacity because I, was certain that I had a full capacity class and that people were going to show up and pay me, and they didn't. And so then after that, I'm like, all right, deposit to hold your spot, or now we collect full payment at the time of enrollment. But it gets people to show up. And so then when I, look at other folks who are still like, yep, you can pay when you come and show up, I'm like, that's our business risk for me, as well as additional admin time. And the card fees are the cost of not having that business risk.
Yeah. And also, I think it adds to that professionalism as well, because you are you're bringing certainty to the client almost by, I know we would see it as like, oh, I don't want to ask for the payment up front because it just feels a bit icky. Like we get that a lot. But it's like, actually, if I was the client and I'm committed because I've paid, like it changes the expectation around it as well, doesn't it? Like they're likely to show up because they've paid. And if they don't, it's on them and it's not affecting you as the business owner. And I don't know, I feel like just something as simple as presenting a way for people to pay that's a credit card or taking payment up front is doing them a duty, and it isn't icky, and it's not a bad thing. And it's that, again, it's that mindset of working through, like, why do you think that that's icky? Why do you think that feels uncomfortable? And for us, it would be like, let's work through why you think, where's that come from? Where have those feelings come from? What's happened before? Maybe your own buying experiences and stuff like that. So I think it's really interesting when, you know, you're doing it to protect yourself, but almost you're doing it to show up in that, again, back to that CEO mindset and the business owner. And, you know, you don't have a business to just get shafted. Like you want to put these things in place to make sure that it's a win for them and a win for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that we can keep doing it and helping more people well into the future instead of burning ourselves out on this, you know, repetitive cycle.
Yeah, because then clients are shit because they don't turn up. Like, is that immediate kind of default, isn't it? Because we've took it on a promise that they're going to turn up to that training session. They don't. People are shit. We lose faith in them. And, you know, it's just this big cycle, isn't it?
For me, this is the importance of investing in yourself, because if you do not feel confident and you haven't got the skills, the same way like you never once had the dog training skills, you invested to learn about those and you spent the time, energy and money learning it, whether you like it or not, you are now a business owner as well. And you've got to look at the business like a business, and that business needs cash flowing through it to survive. It needs certain things. It's almost like a living, breathing thing in its own right. It's not a real living, breathing thing, but you know what I mean.
But we call it like an ecosystem because that's what it is. You need to look after it and nurture it and, you know, make sure it survives, not just survives, that thrives. So
yeah, because otherwise you're right. Like you do end up in burnout, and then you end up with a business model that has allowed you to be burnt out because maybe you've taken on too much emotional burden, because now not only are you dealing with the emotional side of dog training, you're now trying to run the business and do the cash, and then all that guilt and all of the stuff comes in. Then we're not confident about upping our fees, even though, like you mentioned earlier, the world is upping their fees all the time.
Right.
Like the fuel to put in my car at the moment is ridiculous.
Yes.
And it's okay for that to go up. It's okay for my gas and electric to go up. It's okay for food to go up.
Yep. All the services that, you know, as a business I use, like my accounting software and my scheduling software, they raise their fees often. They don't have, you know, I mean, maybe they do on their end, but I'm just seeing the notice that says our fees are going up. Like, and so I have to like accept, like, yes, this is the reality.
Yeah. And they don't justify it, do they? Like when when your gas provider puts the fees up, they're like, I'm so sorry, we're having to do this because da, 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 da. They just do it. But us as dog professiongoing have to justify it and go, I'm so sorry, everyone. I haven't put my fees up for 5 years.
Right.
I'm going to have to do it now. And I'm so sorry. And it's like, it doesn't look great when you see stuff like that. Just own it and go, this is what happens. The fees go up.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's more concerning for me around that money bit, that the price points I'm seeing dog trainers and behaviourists ask for now is the same as what I was asking for nearly 12 years ago.
I feel like it's less now. I feel like I see enough people. Because I used to charge like 50 quid an hour, and I feel like most people here are like 30 to 40. And I'm like, what? Yeah. It's gone backwards. Don't know how.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's an element of like the supply and demand, and then there's way more professionals now, and so folks entering the industry can be like, you know, kind of undercutting the market a little bit, and not really realizing like all of the things that go into a quality service for the client, and we see this in our local Facebook group as well, where like someone's like, I just moved to the area. I like training dogs on the side. Come pay me $20, for a great lesson with your dog. And you're like, yeah, like, okay, like someone seeing that who isn't understanding, a client seeing that who isn't understanding the difference in education experience and client care that they're going to receive with that person over that. It's like, well, why would I go and pay, 6 times that to this professional when this person said that they would do it for this? And like, I think there's a little bit of like market perception and marketing that as an industry, we have to like keep doing to educate folks on the service that we provide.
And you see it across the industries as well, don't you? You see that happening, like introductory offer, I'm going to come in and do it at £10 for your nails or for your hair or whatever. And it's like, really? Is that sustainable? Like, I don't know.
For me, though, this is where it comes back to like, what do you want from your business? Are you in it for the long haul? Are you following a plan? Do you have an idea of where you want it to be, albeit it can be flexible? Absolutely. But are you as committed as you can be to your business, and are you willing to put in what's needed to help it grow? And then that comes with understanding your clients, understanding how to market, outsourcing and investing in help and support for all of the areas that you don't know, because when you are invested in it's got all the ingredients then to be the thing that you want it and need it to be. Or you can keep, we did an episode earlier and I was desperately trying to come up with an example of an industry that I know nothing about, and I landed on gardening, and it became very clear that I really don't know.
She really doesn't know anything about gardening.
So it served my purpose. But the same thing, it's like, if I was going to do it, if I actually wanted to try, I'm always really envious of people that have got like gorgeous vegetable patches and stuff in their garden. And because I home educate my kids, I'm like, I'd love to just be that type of mum that can be, look, let's just go get your strawberries off.
You're never going to be that type of mum. I'm never going to be that type of mum, ever. But if I wanted to, I would definitely like invest in someone to go, right, can you show me what do I plan? How do I look after it? And actually knowing me, I'd probably go, I'm never going to do it. I want it, but can you just do it for me? And I'll pay you to nurture it for me. And I think that's how we have to look at ourselves as a business, because we don't all have that entrepreneurial spark in us, but that doesn't mean we still can't have the business. We might just need to bring people in, even to potentially run it, like bring somebody in as the CEO so you can still be the dog trainer and they go do everything else. It can still be your business. You're just hiring in someone to manage it. And actually, that's a really good point to make, because I think a lot of people that we've spoken to along the way could do with doing that because they just want to focus on delivering the awesome service. And if that is just too much, like I can't like put that hat on and this hat on and whatever.
Don't feel like you should move your hands.
No, I know. I've got my guess there. Or they're scared to outsource it because they feel like someone wouldn't do it. I don't know. But maybe they can just give them everything to do, and maybe that's the way to run it. We've heard of situations like this actually where people have done that before.
Yeah, it's like bringing in. So instead of you going to work for somebody else, because I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't like the idea of either. It's like, I like having that freedom and flexibility. Well, bring somebody in your business then to do the things that you don't enjoy doing.
Well, and then now there's a lot more resources like out there for like fractional folks who will come in and support your business in that like integrator or CEO role at like, but you're not employing them full time. You're employing them for the quarter time or half time, and they have other clients that they're supporting in the same way, and so they can come in and be that support. But maybe your business is at a spot where it doesn't need a completely full-time person in that role.
And again, I suppose this is the sticking point for a lot of people is it's going to be an investment. It's going to mean you need to put money into it for you to get what you want out. And this is the barrier for a lot of people, isn't it? Because they're just so scared to, well, A, they haven't got the money to invest in the first place, but then they're scared to put the money back in because what if they don't get out of it what they're hoping for? But again, I think without the plan, without the strategy around it, without the knowing where they're going and what they're trying to achieve from it, that's a really hard thing to be able to get past as well, isn't it?
It's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. I was going to ask another thing around when you mentioned earlier the thought process around exiting the business. So when you hit that point where you're like, I just can't do this anymore, and I'm going to exit. I think you mentioned that it was an employee that asked you if you would sell it. Mm-hmm. Did you have that thought process prior to that person asking you? So was the thought process, if I'm going to exit, I am going to sell it? Because I think that's quite an unusual thought process as well. I think a good majority of people never think about selling. They'll just go, I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. I think in that case with that employee, it was kind of, I knew, some of the goals that she had on her end and some of the steps she was taking to realize them. And then I knew kind of how I was feeling. And so I kind of approached her with the are you interested in thinking about this? And she was like, yes, I am. And so we went back and forth on it for a good couple months, and we had, very specific discussions about it. So it was kind of mutually arrived at that. I think that I've always kind of gone back and forth. I don't know exactly where, I would land now, but I did, in my, I have a business degree. So in my business education courses in university, I did take a class on business exits. And so that has kind of been in my head since university about okay, this is something. And the kind of bottom line that I took away from that class is if you're going to start a business, you should be thinking about this sooner than you think you should be thinking about it. And I think now what I would struggle with is I love my brand and resources that I've built up so much. So I think right at this moment, if I was going to change something, then I would probably still want to hold on to some of those pieces and use them and kind of reinvent them into something else. If I was moving to a different space, or if I was moving to a different state, or doing any other sort of life development. There are pieces of my business that I really love and I would want to hold on to, which changes how a sale proceeds. It doesn't completely negate the possibility of selling components of the business, but it definitely changes the picture. I think if I was planning to retire fully and get out of the industry and not, pick up another project, then I would look at selling, altogether. But the understanding that in order to have something to sell, you have to be investing in a sustainable finances, sustainable systems, repeatable processes, so that I am not the business. The business is a thing that I manage currently, but could be transferred to someone else.
Yeah. I think it's something that we definitely don't talk about it enough. But I think it is such an important factor of running that business again, because again, I've seen so many people over the years go, you've built something and you've generated 30, 50K a year or whatever it may be. And then it's I've had enough. So you just stop it dead because you've burnt out, you've given up. And I'm like, it saddens me because I am so passionate about really getting that business education out and that understanding that if you did want to walk away, don't walk away with nothing. Let's put something in place so you at least have something to sell. And there's been people come to me over the years to say, do you want to buy my business? I was looking at relocating at one point, and it just so happened, bizarrely, the world works this way, doesn't it? The person who was selling the property that I was looking at had a dog walking and training business, and she had a van, and she was like, you could buy my business as part of the house sale. I was like, oh, interesting. Tell me a little bit more about it. And in her head, she wanted 10 grand for the business. And I'm like, how does that business work exactly? And she's like, well, I've got about these 10 repeat clients on dog walk, and you can have my van. I was like, what? That's not really buying a business because those clients could choose to just not bother coming with me. Right. So now I've essentially bought your van. Yeah. Which is what it is. And I think, again, it's just the non-education that's there.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have to acknowledge that the low barrier to entry to put up your signpost as a dog trainer, and I don't know if it's different in the UK, but in the US right now, it's very easy. Like anyone can move into town, little to no education, start their social media account and say, I'm a dog trainer, come pay me money. It makes it so that like you're like you have to actually have something to sell that's worth selling, that will save folks time and effort and get folks farther down the road with their business, like to make it worth buying their business, because they could just as easily, start from scratch, without paying you that chunk. And so like making, like sell something that's value with the systems that you have in place, with the like clients that come to you for your business reputation, not just for who you are as an individual person.
Yeah, definitely. Because they might have gone, ooh, I don't want my dog's walked by you, Joe, or trained by you, aren't they? And if that's all there is, then that's all there is.
But it's true. And that's why I was like, you're not selling me a business. And again, to me, this just comes down to the lack of education. The same way that we look at dog owners, I suppose, and going, there's a lack of education there. We've got a lot of work to do it. That's why we exist at CBA. This is our North Star. This is what we get super geeky and excited about, because we want to help people get to that position where you can earn money and you can truly exit it and you can help more people and you can do anything you want, all with integrity and incredible ethical training methods, getting that out there to the world. And it's all possible, but we've got to get this business bit working harder.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think a nice place to end this episode would be asking you, it sounds like you've done a lot over the years, you've learned a lot, you've worked on yourself, you've kind of put these things in place. What, if anything, is left for you goal-wise that you wouldn't mind sharing, whether that's a business goal or a personal goal or both? Like what's still there that's the dream that hasn't happened yet that you want to
what's keeping me going? A couple things come to mind. I have, wanted to write a book for years, and it's just one of those things that like falls to the bottom of the pile. And I feel like if I had the space to focus on it, I would enjoy that process. And then so that's something I want to tackle. I think the spot where I'm at now, currently, as I am looking kind of next for business, is like bringing on someone to take my kind of head trainer role from me, which is a piece that has, CEO and head trainer has been kind of my job description for the last few years. And I think that's a next piece that I'm looking as the CEO, that I'm ready to develop someone to take off my plate more robustly. And that role is like our training director for both program development and staff development, and building up, and investing in our dog trainers to be the best, trainers and client professionals that they can be. So that's a new challenge that I think in the next 6 months to a year, I'm going to be, undertaking. And I think it's something I'm trying to view as like kind of a next step forward, and like how I develop in relation to my business, and getting, to able to step even more fully into that CEO role. And then I think kind of on the like personal and business intersection side is I have been able to take time off throughout the years of my business. I've worked hard to maintain that, but I think it's always still come with like layers of either doing some remote work and managing from afar, or feeling overwhelmed on the exit or reentry points from my time off, because it's front loading everything and then backfilling everything. And there's been some things that have been easier and easier reentries, and we've worked towards that. But I think I want to keep working on exercising that muscle of being able to take time off guilt-free and not feel stressed on the front or the back end of that piece. So those are kind of some of my goals.
They're great.
They're good ones.
They are, aren't they? I love the exit and entry back to because it's like one or the other, isn't it? It's like, what am I coming back to or whatever. So
it is different, and it's hard when you love what you do as well, because you do kind of want to keep dabbling and keep doing that. But and
you can get a bit of FOMO sometimes. Like sometimes it's a chore, like and sometimes you're like, what's happening? And I need to keep checking, and then you don't switch off fully and all that stuff.
Right.
But I think those are great and really helpful. So thank you so much, Amber, for today.
Thank you.
It's been really insightful, and we love speaking to people across the pond and finding out the similarities over there and the what's different over there. And it sounds like a lot is the same, with the UK.
You'll have to tell us when you come to CBA Live.
Okay. I will.
So if people want to find out more about you and your business, where's the best place for them to find you?
So we're at summitdogtraining.com and Summit Dog Training on Instagram and Facebook. We have a TikTok that is not as active as our Instagram account. So Summit Dog Training, all one word, will find us in a lot of different places.
Fabulous.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much again. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thanks for having me.